Welcome to News with a View, hosted by me, John A. Costa. Today is November 10th, 2025. This is episode 156. Well, the Senate Democrats broke rank and now have agreed to support the government going back to work. The Senate Democrats break rank now and support a resolution to end the shutdown. And the main people on the Democratic side was Dick Durbin of Illinois, Angus King of Maine, Tim Kaine, Virginia, John Fetterman, Pennsylvania, Jeannie Sheeney, New Hampshire, Maggie Hansen, New Hampshire, Catherine Cortez Master of Nevada, and Jackie Rosen of Nevada. This was a huge win for the Republicans, a huge win for the people to go back to work. That should never, ever have been put in the squeeze of the Democrats. They've agreed to end the shutdown with the same terms that was offered to them 30 days, 40 days ago. What part of losing both houses and the White House in 2024 do the Democrats don't get? You keep going to the same playbook, Democrats. I've been saying this almost for 155 episodes now. You guys lost. You want to be relevant again? You must work with the president. You must work with your colleagues in the Senate and the House of Representatives. They are mainly, of course, Republicans are going to be conservative. You Democrats have radicals that go against even your own moderate Democrats' best interests. This loss to the Democrats on Sunday will be massive for all Democrats. I guarantee you that the Republicans will keep this division as wide as possible. You fell right into Trump's trap. You have Helen Keller could have seen this coming at her. This, it's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Who is running the Democratic Party? Who is steering this party? It can't be Schumer. Schumer is not a stupid man. He's being led. But who's ever doing that pushing of Schumer as the front man? Yeah, you guys, I just can't believe how irresponsible the Democrats have been. Senator Schumer voted no, as did a lot of the Democrats. And it's the Democrats who have hurt all Americans with this useless and wrong shutdown. The, the Democrats did not benefit at all. And what was agreed upon is what was discussed by the Republicans weeks ago. You will lose seats come 2026, Democrats. You can rally all you want and blame Trump. Oh, well, oh, what an evil orange man. Baby Trump, look at him. And this is all going to come down on you. And I guarantee that the Republicans will split your party to progressives and moderates, and have you guys fighting one another for advantages while the Republicans just run unchecked. You brought this on yourselves, Democrats. You thought you were going to show Trump when you've been told, don't use that approach. President Trump likes to feel that he is needed, that his advice and his being the captain will help you. Even though you're unfriendly to him, he wants to be liked. He wants to be helpful. Would the Democrats go into him and go, you won, Mr. President. We'd like to work with you on the problems facing what you're concerned with, and also bring to light what we're concerned with. And see, maybe not our plan will work, maybe not your plan can work, but if we work together, maybe we can come up with a plan together that works. Pride. Pride comes before the fall. You failed to go to Trump, and you should have gone to President Trump hat in hand. I guarantee you, if you would have done that and been going to the president and going, let's look at this together. We know what your agenda is. We know what you want. We understand that. And the American voters understood that. This is our concern. So you had 46% of the people have our concerns too. There's still 46% of the people out there, Mr. President. And you represent them all, but there's 46% of the people out there that still voted for us. So I think, would you have gone down with those numbers and sat down and go, we want to work together here? Nothing's going to work if we stay divided. And you don't have enough power to steamroll us, and we don't, of course, have the power to steamroll you. So I think the only thing here is for us to work together to accomplish what we all want to do. And I think, would they have taken that approach, you would have gotten a lot better response from the president. Instead of all your, you still, Trump's, Russia. Oh no, it's not Russia anymore. Now it's something else. Trump, his family made $1.8 billion. And you have Biden drooling at some, they wheeled him out because they got to pay him something. They got to get some use and mileage out of this guy that they're paying him to show up. And he said, can you imagine that in America? Come on, man. 1.8, his family and government. And in the meantime, $500 million deals with his son on Air Force Two. Who's this guy kidding? Do you people think that we don't have memories, that we won't go back? This will not come back to bite you? Do you not think that the Republicans are going to use your words against you? Pelosi got out of town. Warren should get out of town. Sanders should get out of town. Durbin should get out of town. Coming from a state that is so far in debt, it makes California look good. It's unbelievable that the rhetoric of the left continues. That you thought you were going to paint Trump in a bad light. So going into 2026, you had something to go with, and you got nothing. And if you think Trump is going to concede on any of this now, not happening. Now, he might go, we'll look at premiums, or as he came out and said, I would rather just give the American people their $2,000 per person and let them go out and get health insurance. That is good, not this managed health care which pays them nothing. You have a $7,000 deductible and you need an MRI. And they wanted you got to pay $7,000 towards it to get it, where if you went in without insurance, you paid $600. So you go in there, you go, well, I'll just pay the cash price. And they go, no, it doesn't work that way. You're under managed care. You got to pay this deductible. The Unaffordable Care Act didn't help anyone, except the insurance companies, these managed health care providers. People on Medicare, Medicaid, they weren't hurt by any of this. They already had coverage. So to say Trump is trying to hurt the aged or anyone, is absolutely a lie. And Trump has said 4.5, 5 years ago that he's not touching Medicare or Medicaid. What he is going is people that shouldn't be on it, that aren't entitled to it, that have no reason to get it. And you got Bernie Sanders up there painting a picture. This should be, everyone should get it. Everyone, universal health care. Everyone should get it. Like every other country. No. If I went to Canada, they'd go, no, we're not treating you. You're not Canadian. If I went to England, they'd go, no, we're not treating you. You're not under the Commonwealth. If I went to Australia, they'd go, no, you're not covered. Sanders wants everyone that puts their big toe here to get coverage that we pay for. And I don't mind paying for people who can't, who just can't. I do mind for people that just won't. Uh, there's a huge difference between unwilling and unable. Huge, huge difference. And the Democrats just don't take that into account. The Republicans have won this argument big time, folks. And as I said in my other podcasts, the president won on the things that he had been telling America that he wants to do. They voted for him. How the hell did you think you were going to stop him? And you keep going and challenging him on things that he already has the power to do, and you have district judges who then fight it, knowing damn well that it has to be kicked up the steps. And in the end, he'll get it, but we'll slow him down. We'll bog the whole system down. We'll grind it to a halt. He won't be able to do anything that he wants to do because we will slow the process down. And even the Supreme Court said, hey, this is getting crazy. We're not here to make laws. We're not here, but this is what the president can do. And they're just going to turn around. The 6 judges are just going to turn around and go, he can do it. Boom, end of story. Stop. Can't do that. And they have stopped the president on things that he wanted to do that this says, no, you cannot do. He has stopped the administration. The system works. When you start throwing monkey wrenches into it, the system will work, but you bang it up, you slow it down. And I'm not saying this should just be a step, yeah, he's the president, he approves it, and it goes. I don't believe in that. But the things that he is allowed to do, what's your beef? What's your beef? So, the GOP is popping champagne bottles because they now know they won this. And even though you have Jeffries and Schumer screaming no, 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 people in the House of Representatives are going to go, crap. Now we have to do something. And this is going to get done. I don't think it's going to get done by Thanksgiving, but it will get done. I think that, there's still another 2 weeks of this back and forth and, trying to edge something. But so far, these Democrats in the Senate have agreed to a funding through January with no mention of health care subsidies. With no guarantees. President Trump, through the Republicans, has said, open up the government and we'll have this discussion. Now the ball is back into President Trump's court. And the Democrats would have every right to jump up and down if the discussion is not if the discussions are not genuine. Meaning like, oh, I'm willing to discuss it. The discussion is I'm not going to do anything to change it. Then the Democrats have a point. Hey, you bogged us down over here. You stopped us. But then you said if we agreed, we'll have a sincere talk on the matter. And then, Trump will turn, I never said sincere. Then the Democrats do have a complaint. And I would agree with them that the idea of talking and having a discussion on that is that you're going to take the concerns in, you're going to listen to us, we're going to show you where our concerns are, and you must remember that it's still 46% of those votes out there. Now, you could then have to sway those 46% to get 5 or 6% more to jump onto the Republican bandwagon by doing it, and give the rest to the Democrats. You just want to take more seats in the House and take more seats in the Senate for the Republicans. And in that same breath, I still think that the Republicans should end the filibuster, which I had a major disaster on Friday. My spell checker took the filibuster away and put filler-buster in there. I caught it at the last second before it went to air and before I sent, and because I just looked to see if there's a red line under a word or something, and I do miss stuff. I think I spelled Senator Kane, Kane, and I make some mistakes like that, and it doesn't catch it. But yeah, the filibuster rule should end. It should end, because the reality of the whole idea of the Senate was 50-50 and the tiebreaker, the vice president. So, just go back to that. To have the filibuster go out there where people can just keep talking, and then as a senator or as a group of senators can each go up there every, and spot one another and speak, is not good. It was not what the system was set up to do. And there are ways to stop this. You get 60 votes. And that was the other thing. I think I said 63 votes, and that was not the case. But it was 60 votes, and you end the filibuster and put it to the rule, and then it's a pure 50-51 type of voting. So, Democrats, you are in big trouble and have been, and I keep telling you that, and you won't listen. Bob in New York, there's going to be safe blue states. There's going to be states that there's going to be changes. I'm telling you, it's coming, and you're not going to like it, Bob. I'm going to like it. And in the end, Bob, isn't that really all that matters, is my happiness and not yours? All right. Bob knows I'm only kidding. I'm not. Okay. I never like these types of headlines that I'm going to discuss here, because it just isn't something that I like. And I'm just looking over, making sure everything is recording, everything's doing what it's supposed to do here, because a lot of times it doesn't. Obama judge aided in spying on GOP, may have broken federal laws in doing so. Now, Do we need the word Obama there? Do we need the word Bush? Do we need the word Trump put in front of judges to say that, in the headline? An Obama-appointed judge may have violated federal laws by greenlighting a Biden Department of Justice effort to secretly secure Republican lawmakers' private cell phone data. Now, it makes you think that, they went in there in the middle of the night with little flashlights and a little spy camera and taking pictures. That's not the case. All right? But the first couple of paragraphs of it make it seem that way. You could subpoena information on people, and that you don't have to tell them. The whole idea is you're doing an investigation. You don't want the people to know that you're investigating them. Then they take other evidence and they destroy it, and so you ask, for a subpoena. Now, in this case, when you're dealing with the Senate or and things of that nature, the Senate Judicial Committee has to be informed, and the Senate needs to be informed. And in this case, it's looks like they kind of skipped over notifying the Senate. James Boasberg, this guy looks scary. There's something wrong with this guy. Just by looking at him, I could tell you right now the guy's squirrely. Signed an order in 2023 preventing cell phone carriers from notifying 11 Republican members of Congress about special counsel Jack Smith's subpoenas seeking their cell phone data from January 4th through January 7th of 2021. So, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that they weren't allowed to go and tell them that we not going to inform you. They don't have to say what they're looking at. They could just say that your phone, blah, blah, blah. They have to notify Congress and the Congresses. And the subpoenas were part of Smith's investigation to build his 2020 election case against President Trump. They sought records for inbound and outbound calls, text messages, direct connect, and voicemail messages from Republican members, though he did not request the contents of any messages, according to released by Senate Judiciary Chair Chuck Grassley. Federal law states that communication providers for the Senate offices shall not be barred through operations of any court order or any statutory provision from notifying the Senate office of any legal process seeking disclosure of Senate data. So this was phones used to carry out Senate business, government phones. But they have to be notified that the data has been collected. If Smith or Boasberg violated that statute, it's a very serious problem that probably justifies a bar investigation and could predicate an impeachment inquiry of the judge. So, and again, this is not, this is just an inquiry into it. If it is found that, the Senate and everyone was advised and these other people weren't notified, well, then that's a breakdown of communications inside there, and that would need to be looked into, and looked at to see how could this happen. AT&T refused to hand over this information because they said it violated, you know, they felt that they couldn't do that without, that they had to notify these people. They were bound under the terms to say, we have to notify these people that you've requested, and we have complied to give that information. And AT&T refused. They said, we're not doing this unless, before I hand you this, the second I put that in your hand, I notify them. Because in 1 second, I have fulfilled my obligation to you, and now I'm going to fulfill my obligation under the law to them. And what do you think Jack Smith's office did? They didn't do anything. The courts are not allowed to violate the law, hoping you don't know the law. They can't do that. So AT&T did not have to notify these people because they didn't give their information away. Now, you don't think people at AT&T didn't make a phone call and go, hey, these guys are asking and we're not giving. And it just lights the world up. Now, Verizon and a lot of other carriers fulfilled the subpoena. They go, well, on its surface, it's judicially allowed. So, but Verizon then changed its procedures with that. And I don't know about the other other carriers, whoever they might be. But what ends up happening now is that if Smith, now it's going to be Smith that gets the hot seat here, if there is any legal reason for it. The judge, on the other hand, who was overseeing it, goes, hey, I got the special jury okay to go. You got the you got a grand jury's okay to go after this information, and all I did was give the court stamp of approval on it, and Smith knew the law. Now, they might turn around and go, well, listen, if they don't know the law, that what they're supposed to do and not supposed to do, hey, they didn't do it. But if in that order it said you can't notify people, that this must be kept secret, and that's by the judge's orders, well, that judge didn't know what he was doing and didn't understand. He shouldn't be a federal judge. Simple as that. So this is more now. This is, and I keep saying I want more and more information about the 2020 election. I want more and more about how the government worked against Donald Trump. Because I don't want the government to work against any bona fide and legally chosen candidate for the president to be hampered by a witch hunt. I don't want that. I don't want that for a Republican. I certainly don't want that for a Democrat. Don't want that. That's not how we do things. So, that is going to be an interesting play. All right, we're at 35 minutes here of me nonstop talking, and I forgot my coffee downstairs. I would like to put a coffee machine up here in my private den of solitude, Studio B. But then I'd never leave. I'd then put a refrigerator up here. I already have a fold-out bed. I got a TV. I got my games. I got the internet, you know. Yeah. At my age, you know. Those are big factors. All right. I'd like to hear what you feel about this. I'd like to hear back on your take of the shutdown and now the possible reopening with no gains made by the Democrats, other than, yeah, we'll talk. About the federal law states that communication providers for the Senate office shall not be barred through operations to notify, and yet they were. I'd like to hear your take on that. And hear what you have to say. Because I look at it as it's the letter of the law, and people might say that when you were dealing with such a sensitive subject of insurrection, and that's what they were talking about, you know, are there exceptions to that rule? Now, there is no exception to that rule, just so you know, but, you know, could they have thought they were doing a good thing, you know, but they knew what they were doing when they wrote that. That's me saying that. All right. Now, normally I don't get into what I'm about to report on. It's not something that is going to change our lives as a whole, as a nation, or affect the world, you know, in such a manner. And that's why I didn't get into the Epstein thing. It just, other than that, it's a pointless and serves no purpose. In the political arena, it serves no purpose. But ex-New Hampshire representative charged with child abuse. And what makes this political is that transgender ex-New Hampshire representative, Mr. Lawton, also known as Stacey Marie, was accused with sexual abuse of children. And he's charged with taking nude photos of children 5 and under and texting others that he wished to have sex with children. He was employed at a daycare center in Massachusetts, or his girlfriend was. Somehow he got access or whatever, but not sure on that. He was the first openly transgender elected representative in 2012. Now, there was another transgender person, I think, in 2009 that was elected, but he wasn't openly, you know, so, but this was the first openly. Mr. Lawton had many run-ins with the law. He stepped down because he was charged with credit card fraud and a bunch of other crimes, and has had run-ins with the law ever since. Not a nice guy, according to the charges and accusations. And the only reason I'm reporting this is because it just goes again where I said that a lot of these people have mental issues. And yeah, non-transgender people have abused children. I agree with that. But the fact that he ran as a transgender and was promoted as, and there's nothing wrong with transgenders people. Yeah, they're just as crazy as anyone else. All right? But it seems to be that if you took the transgender and gay community as a separate number and then use that number into the percentages of sexual crimes, they'd be a lot higher. Yeah, I'm saying that. All right. Leaving that ugly scene. Now, this is something that does really irk me. And again, it has to do with the media. Top BBC executives resign after leaked dossier shows outlet deceptively edited Trump's January 6th speech. Two executives at the BBC were ushered out the door after a memo revealed that British media outlet BBC edited speech of Donald Trump's he gave on January 6, 2021. The report detailed the scathing 19-page memo which showed that the BBC completely and utterly misled their viewers. This was shown 1 week from the 2024 presidential election by splicing together parts of Trump's speech in order to make it appear that he called for violence at the U.S. Capitol. Now, mainstream media, BBC, not getting much more mainstream than that, at least in Canada. In Canada, it does get picked up by our mainstream media. And people get an opinion in their country against Americans or against Trump. And this is where I said the BBC is not our friend. The BBC and England are not our friends any longer. They're against free speech. They arrest people for taking photos in public. They arrest people for speaking their minds in a public display. They arrest people for messages, text messages, that are not criminal in nature. It's just, hey, did you see what these people that wear sandals are saying? And England is not the England that we knew 30 years ago. And if you go to London, 3/4, if not more, it's probably 7/8 of London, you'd think you were in Egypt. And they let you know that, too, when you're walking down those streets. You are not welcomed. If you're in Western garb, you are not welcomed. If you're a woman, you are not, traveling alone, you are not welcomed. And this goes true in a lot of those nations now. So, BBC Director Tim Davie and News Division CEO Deborah Turnus announced their resignations. In a statement to the BBC staff, Davis acknowledged there has been some mistakes made and said he takes ultimate responsibility without mentioning the Trump clip. You know what I call him in the BBC? Because this wasn't discovered through, producers or anyone making a complaint. This was not a complaint made. This was released and discovered by a leaked memo by someone. So the BBC, and it has been for a long time, is a pile of festering shit. And the BBC should be barred on being aired anywhere by any of our FCC-controlled communications units because they can't be trusted. And until times where we feel they can be trusted, we don't hear anything coming from the BBC. And free speech doesn't mean you're free to lie and that information gets back to people in our republic and it causes problems. And not a debate. When it's skewed into a lie, you can't debate a lie. So, BBC, you should be off our airways, and we should have nothing to do with you. And anyone else that has not now stepped forward to flush out these people at the BBC until that such time, you don't get any air over here. All right. That's how I would do things. Now, into an area the Democrats and Bob will love, because I am news with a view. President Trump pardons 72 plus supporters. President Donald Trump issued a pardon to key figures allegedly involved in the plan to arrange an alternate slate of electors and expose voting fraud during the 2020 election, according to U.S. Pardon Attorney Ed Martin. Now, exposing voting fraud, that is being looked at today in Georgia, just so you know. Now, the stuff that was done in Michigan with the fake electoral people, I didn't like that. That's something that should not, that, right is right, wrong is wrong. But Trump pardoned high-profile individuals allegedly involved in an attempt to overturn the election, including Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, Boris Epston, John Eastman, and Mark Meadows, and 72 other individuals allegedly associated with an effort to challenge the 2020 election results. Now, these people were arrested for challenging, for having the audacity to complain, to challenge, to go, something's not right here. Yeah, where did these 30 million votes come from? And the same challenge is being made in New Jersey to say, how did 500,000 votes show up? And it needs to be addressed just for the good of everyone, but not whitewashed. And it was. Where I said the voting, I want to see all this stuff. Because I don't ever want to see this happen to anyone, regardless if they're Republican, regardless if they're Democrat. So, President Trump pardoned these people, and that's the end of that. Now, it's interesting with that because Rudy Giuliani had been found in the civil matters, and this does not take into civil matters. But if the case is prove that there was election fraud and everything that he said was the truth, I mean, does he get to revisit his civil case? Don't know. Don't know. His civil case is much different than a criminal case. This only protects people against federal criminal charges, not state charges, but federal criminal charges. So, some people might still be in trouble in certain states, though I'm pretty certain that the Michigan one has been settled and that's done with. So, all right. Democrats seek probe into agencies' messages, blaming them for the shutdown. This is another thing that Bob would like, because it is relevant. It is something that the Democrats can legally ask to look at and question. So I have no problems with that. A group of Senate Democrats is pushing for an investigation into the Trump administration's use of federal agency websites and emails to post partisan messages blaming Democrats for the government shutdown. Now, in that one broad statement, if you're trying to get a message across to people who use the services of those government agencies, the use of the federal agency's website and emails, where else are the people going to get their information? A mailer? Snail mail? So those websites are open to the federal government to use. And anyone in the federal government with authorization to control those websites and emails. So, did the saying that the Democrats' failure to agree on a budget caused the shutdown, is that a lie? No, it's not a lie. Is it a mistake? No, it's not a mistake. Could it be used for a political motivation? Yeah, if that was the case, but it wasn't. It was informing the people why their agency was closed. And this isn't a chicken or egg type of situation. The Democrats refused to go along with the budget, and as such, they shut it down. They shut the government down. So, Elizabeth Warren and others asked the Government Accountability Office to open a probe into whether political messages violated federal appropriation laws. No, they did not, because they were saying exactly what the cause was. The Democrats refused to agree to a budget. And as such, the law requires us to shut this agency down. Call your Democratic representative. Not a big deal. Not a lie. It's not political, because the Democrats. So, and they're saying using funds for purely partisan purposes. It wasn't partisan. This was informing them on why the shutdown happened. The Republicans had signed it. The Democrats refused to get on board. Call your local Democrat. It's not purely. That's not purely. So, more waste of time by the Democrats, more waste of money. Instead of solving problems, They want to point fingers at blame. And in this case, again, they don't have anyone to blame but themselves. The Democrats caused the shutdown, putting that on the page saying that the Democrats' failure to ratify a budget, Republicans did. We're willing to open the government up tomorrow. Guess what? Yeah, that's not purely. So, Warren is another one that needs just to quietly go. Quietly go. The filibuster should be shot down. The filibuster should die an ugly, ugly death. Because it really goes against the principles of 50+1. And if you liberals and Democrats are all screaming about democracy, that is a pure democracy. 50+1. We don't have a pure democracy in the United States because that is also called mob rule. And as I stated before, we have a republic. Look up the difference between a democratic system and a republic. Just look it up. It's there. You could still find it on Google. You could still find it on Grok. You could still find it. It's there. Read it. And as I said before, in a pure democracy, you could have slavery come back. You could have women told that they can't vote. Yeah, in a pure democracy. So, the idea that we're, it's, we're against democracy. Well, right there, if the Democrats are against having a 50+1 in the Senate the way it was originally designed to be, then aren't you against democracy? Oh, only the democracy you want. Like when people vote for a candidate and then the candidate is squashed and you don't have any type of special election other than at the DNC convention, which was already preordained. You mean like that type of democracy? The Democrats are so full of shit. And we see it. And you know what? We're not afraid to call it out anymore. We're just not afraid of you anymore. We're not afraid of you coming after us. We're not even afraid of you trying to murder us. We're not afraid. Because being afraid would cost us our republic. And we're not going to let that happen. And your Charlie Kirks and your Donald Trump, who had political violence used against them, senators playing on a softball field, being shot. Remember that? We won't stand for that. And nor should any of us stand for any political violence. The BBC tried to paint the picture that Donald Trump wanted political violence by manipulating video. That in itself is trying to cause violence and unrest and turmoil. We're not going to stand for it anymore. We're going to stand up to you. We're going to vote you out of office. That's how we're going to remove you. The GOP could not be happier with seeing a communist in New York City running it. We can't be happier to point out that women in New York City voted for a person who wants to take all their rights from them. Don't think so? Don't think so, ladies? It proves that women are the most uninformed, at least in New York City, the most uninformed voters in existence. He'll have you covered up. You wait and see. Wait and see what your city will turn into. You think you could have your little LGBTQ parties and stuff? Wait. Just wait. He will have them use the police as his morals police. Don't think so? Ask him what his plans are. You never did that. All right. That is now 1 hour and 2 minutes into my show today. I have to edit it. And I got this out almost before 10 a.m. So should be out by noon. I always say that, but I'm going to try very hard to get this out by noon because there's a lot of things I have to do today. Today is Monday, and being Monday is Socrates Station Day, Socrates, South Carolina. We go to the Socrates restaurant, bar and grill, Socrates Station. Meals are great. People are great. A couple of drinks are great. Though when I do drink and when I do drink and drive, I don't drink and drive. I have one drink. I'm there for 3 hours, maybe 2 drinks. I'll stay a little longer. But if I have anything more than 2 drinks, or I don't drink beer, but I will leave the vehicle there and take an Uber home. Got a special number to call, and they're there in 10 minutes, and they take me home. So if I know I'm going to party it up, I have a backup plan, because that's what people with common sense do. All right. As I end all my shows, if you hung with me this long and you're new, I always ask that you give to a charity of your choice. Go to that charity. Don't have that charity come to you. You go to them. Now, if you're uncomfortable with that, I can certainly understand why people could be uncomfortable with that. Buy a couple extra cans of food, deliver it to a food bank of your choice. If you see buy one, get one free, buy 2, get 4, whatever, do it. And mostly if you're going to use it, or if you just feel generous enough to give that away too, give it. SpaghettiOs, vegetables, fruit in cans, meat in cans, dry goods. These are all things food banks need. And they should be, in non-expired, of course. You can't give away expired food. and you're helping people. And you go, well, those people, they should help themselves. Yes, 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 all that. A child goes hungry. They don't know anything. They just know they're hungry. Let's do it in the community. Let's not worry about what the government can do for people. In that case, let's, as a community, do it with no strings attached. These churches all know how to handle themselves and know what to do. And I say churches, it could be a synagogue, it could be a mosque, it could be whatever you want it to be, it could be just a locally run, nonpartisan, non anything food bank. But they need help. And when you're there, you could also ask if they need blankets, if they need towels, if they need coats, if they need shoes, if they need diapers, if they need feminine products, if they need soap, and then act accordingly. But it will make you feel good. And that should be an all year type of thing, not just as the holidays approach. All right. With that, I say a prayer. Prayer does work, regardless of what a Democrat might tell you. And if you want to know why I always put that in there, ask me in an email or a comment, and I will explain that to you. All right, with that, I'm going to say thank you very much. Got to reach over here to my control panel to see what button I push so I don't go to a different camera. And with that, I'm going to say later, and I'm going to fade to black.